going on, YouTube? It's your boy SB. You're on another episode of SB Toys. Like I said, this is a channel of showcasing toys in my collection, and I don't necessarily review them. And sometimes I may go over some specs and things of that, share a little tidbit of history behind a toy or something. But that's about it. So I don't do all the stats and things like that and go over other things. You know, if you haven't checked out any other videos, make sure you check those out as well. Rate, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I have other videos that you enjoy as well. But I ain't gonna drag the intro out too long. We're going ahead and get into what this video about is today. And today I have one of my prized possessions out of my collection. I have here an original Power Rangers Megazord. Now, this is not to be confused with the Legacy version, which is basically a re-released version of this original model. But it's slightly different as far as in size and bulkiness and things of that. Now, a key thing to point out is, even though this is original Megazord, it is slightly different from how it originally may have came in the box when you would get it from the store. I did do some custom things to it, and so we'll get into that as I go into the showcase here on this video. So let's go ahead and get to it. Now, I've always wanted one of these when I was growing up. And as we go on that note, let me go ahead and give you a spin, 360 style. Well, like I said, some videos I've seen people with the fancy turntables. I don't have that here. You just have to do it with my hand. Unless you want to send me one in, that'd be nice of you. I greatly appreciate it. But anyway, as I was saying, I always wanted one. I remember back in, I believe, 91, 93, when these first came out. Nagging my mom, dad, and them to get me one of these. And eventually they got me a Megazord from the original show, but it wasn't this version. Some of you may be familiar with the other version, which was basically, it was this Megazord, but it was a little smaller, and the only thing that you could really detach from it was the legs, the Triceratops and the saber-toothed tiger legs. Of course, they didn't even do their full transformation as well. But the fist did shoot out at you too. I forgot about that. So I guess that was a cool trade-off. You can shoot fists at people you didn't like with your so-called incomplete, non-official Megazord. But anyway, so that's the main thing why I wanted to get this one. It was just something I've always wanted to have. And I was talking with a buddy one day, and we was just going over some things. And I was like, you know, I've always wanted one of those original Megazords. So eventually I just said I'm going to go ahead and do it, and looked into it and acquired me one. Basically, how I went about getting this. Well, let me point out, first things first, as you can see, I disassembled it and put it in the Battlezord mode. This was another one of the famous combinations you could put it in. Similar to the show. So I had to do that for y'all because I'm sure if I didn't, somebody would have been grilling me for not doing that. So here it is in the Battlezord mode. So that's that for you. But anyway, as I was saying, as far as acquiring me one for my collection, I just did a simple eBay search to find me an original Power Rangers Megazord. And of course, that's how I discovered the Legacy versions out there. And another thing I discovered is that finding a Megazord that has all the parts and everything is very rare and expensive to find. So if you do find one, you're going to probably be opening up the bank a little bit for getting one that is completely put together and has all the parts. Now, if you don't mind that, more power to you. But some of you who may not be trying to break the bank on getting one of these, you can buy much cheaper some that are completely have most of the parts, and then just try to piece it together there, which is kind of what I had to do with this one. And I'll go into more details about that. But as far as finding the Zord and finding the parts and everything, I just did simple eBay shopping and was able to acquire everything I needed to make this complete Megazord here. As you can see here, I have took the Megazord and disassembled it to its individual Zords. So I can go over the customization process here. As far as everything that I've did and created for the version I have, and to get the complete Megazord that I needed. Now, as far as when I was looking into acquiring a Megazord, as I mentioned, is very inexpensive. Well, it's very expensive, and it's very hard to find one that's completely assembled. So a lot of times, if you do find a one that's inexpensive, there's missing parts, and you'll have to shop around to find other parts and things in there. So the main thing I first want to point out is, as you can see, the stickers on them may look different from how you remember the original Megazord when it was released. So let me explain that. A little bit of history behind. Apparently, when BANDAI, who created the Power Ranger toys, and I believe they still own the license and stuff to them now, when they released their Japanese versions, the decals for the Megazord toys were created differently from the American release. Apparently, the American release changed them up for some reason, and they look a little different from how the Megazord looks in the show, which the Japanese version stayed true to. So a lot of times you'll find the Japanese version of these original Megazord is a lot more expensive as well. And a lot of toy enthusiasts, collectors of Power Rangers Megazord merchandise, that's one of the key things they point out as well when you talk with them about that. So upon that discovery, I looked into restoring my Megazord, customizing it, because one key feature I noticed when I first got mine is some of the stickers was missing anyway, so I wanted to go ahead and correct that. And I happened to come across a company called BD15 Decals. Now the BD stands for Blind Drummer. I don't know if that's just the name of the person who started the company or whatever, but shout out to him anyway for giving us the opportunity to have that option of being able to fix decals or replace decals, and give us some more show accurate set of decals that we can use to have our Megazords look more original to the show. As you can see right now, I have the pterodactyl, or how it may be pronounced, because apparently the way it's written, it sounds like it should be pronounced pterodactyl, with the P in front. But I've always said pterodactyl. So let me know if that's the case. I'll be calling it pterodactyl for now. But if you look at it, you can see I have the BD15 decals on it. If you notice the chest plate, some of you may know how the original Megazords look. That's probably one key thing that stands out, and which I kind of like better. It's a little more clean as opposed to the original decal for the pterodactyl chest piece. It was a little kind of weird glass stencil look. I can't really describe it, but some of you know what I'm talking about. Now, as far as the cannons, my Megazord did not have the original cannons either. And so, as I was mentioning, how you may have to shop around for parts and things, I happened to find a company that makes aftermarket parts for Power Rangers Megazords and things. Their name is Starlight Studios. And so I happened to buy a set of cannons from them, and they fit real nice as far as displaying them on the back of the Megazord when I have them in full form. Now, the only thing about them is they kind of fit loosely as far as displaying the pterodactyl by itself. You can sit it in there, but as far as movements, you're kind of limited. You won't be able to carry the cannons around with you as you move the pterodactyl around, as opposed to what I've seen with some people with the original plastic ones. But I like the Starlight Studios cannons. They're very hard metal, and it's got the nice metallic finish to them. So that's what I like about that. Saber-tooth tiger, also known as the Megazord for the Yellow Ranger. Now, one of the key things that stood out as far as the American version, these stickers, they had a blue color, and of course we know in the show, the Saber-tooth tiger had the red emblem, and you see the, I guess you can call it the leg decals. They were blue in the toy version for some reason. So the BD15 decals, they were made for these, giving you the original show color and things of that nature. So I like that. And that's as far as the only customization that I did as far as that. Let's get into the Triceratops, also known as the Blue Ranger Megazord. Now, one of the big things about this little thing right here, as far as trying to shop around for a Megazord, you will find about 80% of the time that the Triceratops Megazord that comes with the kit is missing its horns here. And that's one of the key reasons that led me to do what I needed to do in order to complete this. When I got it, it only came with one of the horns. So basically, it just when you see the Triceratops Megazord without its horns, you may not mind it, but once you get to see it when it has its horns like it's originally supposed to have, you're like, I have to have that. And so basically it just felt incomplete without me being able to have the full out horns and everything for it. And so I went into trying to find some horns. I looked into Starlight Studios because I know they originally made them, but it was just my luck. They were not making them anymore, and they didn't have them in stock. Hopefully, they will get back to making some. If they're watching this video, I hope this helps motivate them, because I'm sure there's other people out there who's in a situation where they have this Zord as well, and they've been trying to acquire some horns. Now, how I looked up, I ended up finding another Megazord that had a horn to match the opposite side of what I needed to complete this Triceratops Megazord and it to have both of his horns. Now, actually, the horns you see on here is a second pair of horns that I looked up and found online as well. And I mean, if you stick around, you'll kind of get why I ended up getting another set of horns after I had bought another Megazord to match the horn that I needed. So I'm just leave that at that right now. But as far as that, I had to shop around for the horns to complete that, and I replaced it with the Blind Drummer 15 BD15 Decals. Now, let's get into the Mastodon, or as they call it, the Black Ranger Megazord. Same thing here. Custom decals from BD15 Blind Drummer. The tusk and the trunk are aftermarket parts from Starlight Studios, which this one came with its original tusk and trunk, but it was a little beat up and stuff. And so I like the Starlight Studios, like with the pterodactyl cannons. It's got this nice metallic finish to it, and it just have a nice heavier feel and stuff, which is just great for displaying. And another key thing I point out, as far as opposed to the original regular American release version of Megazord, a key thing you'll notice, aside from the chest piece of the pterodactyl, is the M's on the Mastodon here. The M stickers or decals, you can definitely tell that they're more accurate to the show compared to how they originally were when they was released in America. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, better known as the Red Ranger Megazord. Now, as you see here, it also has the BD15 decals. That's about it as far as the customization goes. Key thing I do want to point out, upon acquiring my secondary Megazord to replace the horns on the Triceratops, is the tip here. One of the other Megazord that I had did not have the tip. So this is the actual Tyrannosaurus Rex from the newer Megazord that I had acquired that came with the tip. So I pieced it with my original Zord sets and was able to complete my Megazord. The original sword I got with the first Megazord that I had acquired, it was a little chippy with the paint. It was all beat up, looked like someone had chewed on it and stuff. And so when I got my second Megazord, the sword that came with it was in much better condition. The chrome paint is still pretty much there. It still shines, no dings and dents. So that was another thing I pieced with the Megazord as well. And I would like to point out, because I mentioned Starlight Studios on a few of these Zords here. If you check them out, they also make aftermarket sword for the Shogun Megazord. So it would definitely be nice if they went ahead and looked into doing that for the original Megazord. If they made an original sword for the original Megazord with the metallic finish and the metal building or whatever material they use, I'm sure they'll be flying off the shelves, because I know people that have Megazords or they'll be looking into collecting them. They'll definitely probably grab those. And I also hope they get back to making Triceratops horns as well. There's a lot of things I like about this Zord here. The Megazord, the original. But the main thing, one of the main things, is the size. Which is why I wanted the original as opposed to the remanufactured legacy version. It's cool, but it's not as bulky in size, and it's not as tall. And so I feel like the original would stand out much more in my collection, having that. Other thing I like is the decals on here. These Blind Drummer BD15 decals. Definitely, as they say, give it a more show accurate look as opposed to how they were when they were originally released. Which is something I never thought about when I was originally trying to get one. But I'm glad I looked into it. The Starlight Studio accessories, things of that nature. So it definitely gives it a fresh look. Definitely a nice custom restored Megazord here. I appreciate y'all watching the video. Hope you enjoyed, especially since I was covering a toy that represents a very popular time in pop culture. I mean, the original Power Rangers. A lot of us grew up on them and was familiar with seeing them jump into the Megazord to whoop up on big monsters that would blow up out of fog and tower the cities and stuff. So I hope you enjoyed. And many of like me, many of you probably have one yourself sitting around the house, or remember having one growing up as a child. So this maybe brings back some memories and things of that nature. As far as some of you that still may have one or looking to get one, maybe it may not be in the best of condition, and so you were looking about some ways to go about maybe restoring it. Maybe needed to replace your decals and stuff, but didn't know where you would find some. So I hope this video puts you on the Blind Drummer decals, let you check them out. And Starlight Studios for some of your Megazord parts you may need. They do a few aftermarket parts as well, so shout out to them. And as always, make sure you like and subscribe, rate the videos, subscribe to the channel. I have the button down here. And also, just feel free to share feedback, anything of that nature.